If you are watching this video right now, there is a very good chance that you have been following the Iraqi dinar story for quite some time. Maybe you have been holding dinar for months, maybe for years, or maybe even for decades. You might be someone who has watched countless videos, read hundreds of articles, and followed nearly every rumor, update, and discussion that has crossed your screen over the years. If that sounds like you, then what we are talking about today is especially important because what we are seeing right now feels different from the usual noise. We are seeing what many people are calling confirmation signals, and these signals are not coming from anonymous forum posts or unverified sources. They are coming from visible activity, policy movement, and measurable changes that suggest the Iraqi dinar may be approaching a significant turning point. Before we go any further, it is important to acknowledge something honestly. The Iraqi dinar community is one of the most patient and emotionally invested groups of currency holders in the world. Many people watching this have been through years of anticipation, excitement, disappointment, and renewed hope. When you have held a currency for a long time, waiting for its value to reflect the true economic potential of a country with enormous natural resources, every new update can feel like it might finally be the one. Every prediction can spark optimism, and every false alarm can create frustration or doubt. That emotional cycle is very real, and it is completely understandable. What makes the current moment stand out is not excitement alone, but context. We are not talking about a single rumor or one dramatic claim. We are looking at multiple indicators that are aligning at the same time. These indicators point toward preparation, coordination, and intent within Iraq's financial and governmental systems. That does not mean an event is guaranteed, and it does not mean anything will happen overnight, but it does mean something serious may be unfolding behind the scenes. To understand why this matters, we need to take a step back and talk about what people mean when they talk about a revaluation. A revaluation is not the same thing as everyday currency movement in the foreign exchange market. It is a deliberate policy decision made by a government or central bank to adjust the official exchange rate of its currency. Revaluations usually occur when a currency is considered undervalued relative to the country's economic fundamentals, such as foreign reserves, export capacity, gross domestic product, or overall financial stability. In Iraq's case, the argument for years has been that the dinar does not reflect the country's underlying wealth. Iraq holds some of the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Oil exports generate massive revenue, and the country occupies a strategically important position in the global energy market. Despite this, the dinar has remained at a low exchange rate for a long time. This gap between perceived economic potential and currency value is what drew many investors to the dinar in the first place. The historical context matters here. After 2003, Iraq went through a complete transformation. The political system changed, the economy had to be rebuilt, and the financial system had to be reconstructed almost from the ground up. The currency was replaced, new notes were issued, and the Central Bank of Iraq took on the responsibility of stabilizing the dinar in an environment filled with uncertainty. For many years, maintaining stability was more important than increasing value. A low, controlled exchange rate helped manage inflation, supported basic economic function, and allowed the country to slowly rebuild. Over time, however, as security improved and oil production increased, expectations began to shift. People began to believe that once Iraq reached a certain level of stability and economic maturity, the dinar would eventually be adjusted to reflect that progress. This belief led to widespread global interest in holding dinar, with investors hoping that patience would eventually be rewarded. The challenge is that the Iraqi government and the Central Bank of Iraq have never publicly committed to a specific timeline for a major revaluation. Over the years, there have been policy discussions, technical reforms, and small adjustments, but nothing resembling the dramatic shift many holders imagine. That gap between expectations and reality created an environment where speculation flourished. Predictions were made, dates were set, and many of them passed without change. In some cases, misunderstandings of financial policy fueled unrealistic hopes. In other cases, bad actors took advantage of the situation to promote false claims or outright scams. This is why skepticism is healthy. Anyone who has been in this space for a long time has learned the hard way not to believe everything they hear. What makes the current situation worth examining is that it does not rely on a single claim or personality. It is based on patterns of behavior, policy alignment, and institutional activity that can be observed and verified. One of the most noticeable developments has been increased coordination within Iraq's banking sector. Banks do not make major system upgrades or liquidity preparations without reason. These kinds of changes require planning, resources, and guidance from higher authorities. When multiple banks begin aligning their systems, updating infrastructure, and communicating with international partners at the same time, it suggests they are preparing for something beyond routine operations. This kind of preparation often occurs when a central bank is moving toward a policy shift that will require the banking system to be ready. Alongside this, there has been visible movement at the government level. Economic reforms aimed at reducing inflation, improving transparency, and strengthening monetary control have been implemented. There has also been a noticeable effort to reduce reliance on the US dollar within the domestic economy, which is a significant step for any country seeking greater monetary independence. Strengthening the national currency requires confidence, discipline, and a framework that supports stability, and many of these elements appear to be taking shape. International attention has also increased. When global financial institutions, analysts, and investment groups begin paying closer attention to a currency, it is usually because they see signals that something may change. This does not happen randomly. It happens when there is enough data, enough movement, and enough institutional engagement to justify closer monitoring. While attention alone does not guarantee a revaluation, it often precedes significant policy developments. Economic fundamentals play a crucial role in all of this. Iraq's oil production has remained strong, and government revenues have benefited from global energy demand. At the same time, there have been efforts to improve political stability and encourage foreign investment. A currency cannot be sustainably strengthened without an economy that can support it. The fact that these fundamentals have been improving creates a foundation that makes a policy adjustment more plausible than it would have been in the past. For dinar holders, the practical implications are significant but need to be understood realistically. A revaluation would mean that the official exchange rate is adjusted upward, increasing the value of dinar holdings. However, the size of that adjustment is unknown. Some projections shared online are extremely optimistic, while others are more conservative. Until an official announcement is made, no one knows the exact numbers. What matters more than speculation is preparation. Preparation starts with understanding that a revaluation is not an instant wealth event. There will be procedures, regulations, and verification requirements. Banks will follow strict protocols. Documentation will matter, identification will matter, tax implications will matter. Anyone expecting an effortless process is setting themselves up for disappointment. The emotional side of this journey cannot be ignored. Many people have waited for years, watching updates come and go. That experience creates both resilience and caution. It is normal to feel hopeful and skeptical at the same time. The key is not letting emotion drive. Decisions, facts, preparation, and patience matter far more than excitement. Timing is the question everyone asks, and it is also the question no one can answer with certainty. Currency reevaluations are rarely announced far in advance. They are often implemented quickly to prevent speculation and manipulation. The absence of a date does not mean nothing is happening. It simply means the process is unfolding quietly. as most serious financial changes do. What can be said is that the level of coordination, policy alignment, and institutional readiness being observed suggests movement toward a goal. Whether that goal is reached in weeks, months, or longer remains unknown. What is clear is that now is the time to be organized, informed, and realistic. This means securing your holdings, understanding where and how exchanges would take place, and learning the rules that apply in your country. It means consulting professionals when needed and avoiding anyone who promises special access or guaranteed outcomes. It also means viewing this investment as part of a broader strategy rather than a single life-changing event. On a larger scale, what happens to the dinar matters beyond individual investors. A stronger currency would reflect progress in Iraq's economic recovery and integration into the global system. It would signal stability, confidence, and opportunity for citizens within Iraq. It could improve purchasing power and economic conditions for investors. It would represent validation of long-term belief in the country's potential. At the same time, risks remain. Political uncertainty, oil price volatility, and implementation challenges are real factors. No outcome is guaranteed. Responsible participation means acknowledging these risks and acting accordingly. For those who have held through years of uncertainty, the current signals represent something meaningful. Not a promise, but a shift in momentum. They suggest that the conversation may be moving from speculation toward structure, from hope toward preparation. That alone makes this moment worth paying attention to. Another important aspect that often gets overlooked in discussions about the Iraqi dinar is the role of confidence, both domestic and international. Currency value is not only a mathematical reflection of reserves and exports, but also a psychological measure of trust. When citizens trust their currency, they use it. When investors trust a currency, they hold it. When institutions trust a currency, they integrate it into trade, contracts, and long-term planning. Over the past several years, Iraq has been slowly rebuilding this trust, step by step, through reforms that may not look dramatic on the surface, but are critical beneath it. One example of this is the gradual strengthening of financial discipline within government spending. In the past, budget inconsistencies, delayed payments, and lack of transparency weakened confidence in the system. Recently, however, there has been visible effort to improve fiscal management, streamline payroll systems, and ensure that salaries and pensions are distributed more efficiently. These changes reduce internal pressure on the currency and help stabilize demand. When a government demonstrates control over its finances, it sends a message that the currency issues is being managed responsibly. Another signal comes from Iraq's approach to international trade settlements. Reducing reliance on cash-based transactions and improving banking compliance makes it easier for Iraq to engage with global partners. This matters because international trade is one of the main channels through which currency demand is created. When Iraqi goods and services are traded more easily and transparently, the dinar becomes more relevant beyond its borders. That relevance does not happen overnight, but it builds steadily as systems align and trust increases. It is also important to understand that central banks rarely act in isolation. The Central Bank of Iraq operates within a global financial ecosystem that includes international regulators, correspondent banks, and financial institutions. Any major change to the dinar's value would need to be coordinated carefully to avoid market disruption. This is why preparation often happens quietly. Systems are tested, procedures are reviewed, and contingencies are planned long before any public announcement is made. Silence, in this context, does not mean inactivity. For dinar holders, this quiet phase can be the most difficult. Without constant updates, it is easy to feel uncertain or impatient. However, history shows that major financial shifts are rarely accompanied by continuous public commentary. They are implemented when conditions align, not when speculation peaks. Understanding this can help manage expectations and reduce unnecessary stress. There is also the question of scale. Many discussions online focus on extreme scenarios, imagining sudden, massive increases in value. While such outcomes are theoretically possible, they are not typical of how central banks operate. More often, adjustments are made in a controlled manner that balances multiple priorities, including inflation control, export competitiveness, and social stability. A responsible approach to valuation considers not only investors, but also citizens, businesses, and government obligations. This is why it is helpful to think of the diner's future as a process rather than a single event. Even if a revaluation occurs, it may be part of a broader sequence of reforms and adjustments. The goal is not just a higher number on an exchange screen, but a currency that functions effectively within a growing, diversified economy. That kind of success is built over time. Another factor worth considering is the role of public perception within Iraq itself. When citizens see their currency being treated seriously by their own institutions, they are more likely to use it confidently. This reduces dollarization, strengthens domestic demand for the dinar, and supports long-term stability. Encouraging people to save, transact, and invest in their national currency is a foundational step toward meaningful valuation change. At the same time, international observers are watching closely Iraq's progress in regulatory compliance, anti-money laundering efforts, and financial transparency influences how global markets view the dinar. These are not optional standards, they are prerequisites for deeper integration into the global financial system. Each step forward in this area removes a barrier that previously limited the dinar's potential. For those holding dinar outside Iraq, the most practical question is how to stay prepared without becoming consumed by speculation. The answer lies in balance. Staying informed is important, but chasing every rumor is not. Understanding the fundamentals provides a stronger foundation than reacting to headlines. Being patient does not mean being passive. It means being ready without being reckless. Preparation also includes thinking ahead about financial planning. If the diner's value changes, even modestly, it may have tax implications depending on your jurisdiction. Understanding these rules in advance can prevent surprises later. It may also be wise to think about how any gains would fit into your broader financial goals rather than viewing them in isolation. The dinar story is unique because it sits at the intersection of geopolitics, economics, and long-term recovery. Few currencies have attracted this level of sustained global attention without already being widely traded. That alone makes it an unusual case. Whether that attention ultimately results in a major valuation shift remains to be seen. But the underlying transformation within Iraq is real and ongoing. As we look ahead, the most realistic outlook is one grounded in cautious optimism. The signals being observed suggest preparation, not promises. They suggest direction, not deadlines. For those who have followed this journey for years, that distinction matters. It allows hope to coexist with realism. In the end, the value of the dinar will reflect the collective outcome of policy decisions, economic performance, and institutional trust. No single video, article, or update can capture that complexity fully. What can be done is to recognize when patterns begin to change and to respond thoughtfully. If history is any guide, moments of transition are often quiet before they become visible. They are shaped by groundwork laid long in advance. Whether the diner's next chapter unfolds sooner or later, those who understand the process are better positioned than those who rely on hype alone. For now, the most important thing is awareness. Awareness of what is changing, awareness of what is realistic, and awareness of the responsibility that comes with long-term investment. The Iraqi dinar story is still being written, and while the final outcome remains uncertain, the direction of preparation suggests that something meaningful may be approaching.